rest of the information. So I have a few packages up here. I realize it's the last presentation of the weekend. You've worked pretty hard, but I am going to ask you to work collectively at a table and try to give us some feedback. So we're going to look for some information from you today. We're going to present you with 4 discussion points throughout the presentation, and we want the perspective, you as your athlete rep in your sport. There's a variety of sports, variety of disciplines, everything's represented. This is a great time for us to take an audit, so to speak, to really get an understanding of where are we lacking education, what information are we not providing you. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask my colleague Karina here, who's been helping me with the booth all weekend, if she can hand these out. There's about 6 or 7 per package, so if we get about 6 or 7 people or athletes at a table, that'd be great. In the package, there's a few different things. The first one is they're all in English and French, so if you have a preferred language that you want to write in, by all means, please choose so. There's a give back form. So if you would have seen the photo booth that we were running in front of our True Sport banner, you know, with the funky hats and sunglasses and hair that we were doing, there's a purpose for that. We wanted to get your attention about that. But the True Sport movement actually involves 7 principles. One of the principles is give back. So along with that, there's forms in there for a give back challenge. There's 3 national prizes. There's one for $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000. We know that all of you are involved in your local communities and sport communities in giving back to younger athletes in a variety of different ways. So if you want to fill out that form, or if you know someone that you think should have filled out that form and apply, there's a chance to receive one of those 3 prizes that I previously mentioned, and they'll be given out later. If you have any questions, there's also my business card in each of those packages, so you can reach out to me directly, and I can get you more information if you're not sure how it's all running. Thanks, Karina. Also in there's a survey. It's about 6 or 7 questions. The purpose behind that survey, it's just on a scale of essentially 1 to 5 and what you thought, how the presentation went today. CCES's education team, which I'm not officially part of, but they've asked me to come present today, is looking for different ways to engage athletes. So we're hoping for your feedback to let us know. Did you like the format? Was discussion better? Did you want more facts-based, a lecture where we just present you the information, or did you enjoy it? So if you could respond that at the end of the presentation, just spend 2-3 minutes, as long as it takes to do it, that'd be great. And as mentioned, the business cards are in there. So the slide up there right now, we wanted to give you a little bit more information about myself. So my name's Eric Gallus. I'm currently the intelligence coordinator at the CCES. What does that mean? I'm the person that gets a lot of the incoming information. I collect the data and decide in many cases if and when we're going to test you or your sport, the time of the day. So those 6 a.m. wake-up calls, unfortunately, those are my fault. Not always, but sometimes that's the case. I've been with CCES since 2010. I'm a former athlete myself, not from the Olympic stream, but I was a basketball and football player in university. I was fortunate after that to have a shot in the CFL and then play a year abroad in Germany professionally. So I understand many of the challenges. They don't always follow the Olympic stream that you do, but as far as getting access to services, not sufficient funding, those are all very familiar challenges that I faced as an athlete as well. What do I dislike? Dishonesty. I know it's really straightforward, but it's really irritating. Sport is. I just described it as passion and a gateway. I say passion because when I think about sport in any capacity, it invokes a passionate response for me, whether that's a negative or positive, it all depends, but I'm very passionate about it. And the second part as a gateway, I just look at my career personally. Without athletics, there are many things I wouldn't have been able to do. So I wouldn't have been able to travel abroad and spend that time there and go to university like I did, or at least ease my path to university. Karina, who you met, who we would have been interacting with throughout the weekend, is going to help me with some of the discussion points today, is also part of CCES. She's an official True Sport champion, so when you have any questions related and wanting to be involved with the True Sport group, Karina would be much more able to answer those questions than I am. She's also, on the secondary side, a doping control officer, so many of you, or some of you, have definitely had a variety of different, more personal interactions with her. She's been involved with the True Sport side since 2010, and I believe she's been a doping control officer since 2006. She loves meeting new people, reading and traveling. Some of her dislikes are long lines, people who belittle sport without experience in the discipline. So just because it's not a socially really popular one, but you don't really understand the sport, one of her big dislikes. And sport for her is an integral part of her life and her community. So if you have any questions, Karina will be here to help you answer any questions you might have as well. So moving on, so some of you may be familiar with CCES, you may not be, but what is CCES exactly? So we are the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport, and our mission is to activate a value-based sport system that's principle-driven. We advocate for sport that's fair, safe, and open for all Canadians. And the other component that many of you are familiar and that we're really known for is we protect the integrity of sport, primarily through doping control. So today's goal, as I mentioned, we really want to hear what you have to think. So whether it's cheating or about supplements, no hold bar discussion, we want to balance the pressures of sport and ethical-based decision making. So we've designed it so you can provide us that feedback, as I mentioned. It's not about right or wrong, it's really about how you've dealt with a situation or how you would deal with it or what your beliefs are. So it's not right or wrong, we're not here to tell you how to do it, we just want to know how you would do it or how you're dealing with those situations in your daily life. How it's going to go to work, how it's going to work, I'm going to keep talking for a little bit, and a little bit more, then it's going to be your turn. We're going to have some breaks. The idea is I'm going to try to get some feedback, so I'm going to go to each table after a couple questions and ask for one gem, something that really hit home to your group or to you personally as the speaker, and just let the rest of the group know, something that we can take back to the office. We want to take this information and include it into the education that we're doing for a variety of programs that we have. We really want to understand what your challenges are so we can understand how to support you in a variety of different ways. So we'll get started on that. What is sport to you? As I mentioned, for me, it's a passion and it's a gateway, but what does it mean for you? So when you're thinking about, So when you're thinking about it, I'd like you to think about what sport has done for you in your life. What type of challenges have you been able to overcome? How have you dealt with them? And what type of benefit has it brought to your life? What does it mean to you? And then what makes sport vulnerable? As we know, there are many challenges, and when you're facing with them, it can put sport at risk. It can reduce the integrity, and we want you to take that in consideration. We're going to bring up a few, but we want you to keep them all in mind as you're going through it. So I've listed a few just to jog your memory or so you kind of get an idea. So win at all costs, racism, doping being the big one that we deal with at CCES. You know, your parents can have a positive or a negative impact on your life depending on what type of family you come from. Teammates, homophobia, coaches, academics, fitting in, health, physique, all of those are pressures on your life. Some can be positive, some can be negative. So things to keep in mind. So how do you make the tough choices? The ethical-based decision model that I spoke to quickly or that I mentioned is, well, what do you know? You need to have a solid grounding within those to deal with these situations. So what do you know 100%? Then what's important to you? What do you value? How does it make you feel? And then at the end, well, what's your reaction? How did you deal with that situation? So when you're going through these questions, we hope that you can think about them in this regard, look them at the 3-step process, and try to understand what's going on. So you know, in some cases, the sport rules that you participate in. You know, when someone cheats in the game, it's frustrating, you see it happen. You know the anti-doping rules, or we hope you at least do. If you don't, make sure you contact us. We'll be happy to let you know. The health benefits, the risks, code of conduct. Values, so the situations, the feelings of others. Is it important to you? Do you only care how you feel in a situation? What are the values as a group, the beliefs, expectations of others? And then the advantage that you can gain out of the situation, yourselves and others. One strategy to help deal with making with tough decisions to rely on what you know, what we value, and then what you choose to do. Those 3 factors will determine how you deal with a difficult situation, whether it's complicated or even simple. So I wanted to present you with a scenario that I went through as a university athlete. While I was at McGill University, you may have heard about the hazing scandal that happened in 2006. I was a second-year athlete at the school at that time, and basically our season got cut short. I don't want to break down into all the specifics of it. There was a hazing incident that happened. The school ended up canceling our season. We had some long-term sanctions applied, and I come from a really familial background. I come from a military family. You know, values and strengths and weaknesses were really important in my life, but I went away to school, and it seemed like in 1 year, I let something happen in training camp as a second-year veteran that I really disagreed with. I knew it was happening, I disagreed with it, but I didn't speak up. And it kind of comes down to the know, value, and do. I knew it was wrong, my values said otherwise, but I didn't really act in the way it should have been dealt with. You know, I didn't speak up, I didn't protect the individual, or I didn't voice my opinion. So, something that I regret, I'm gonna have to live with the rest of my life. It was a character building time too, but, you know, 2 of the things pointed in the right direction, what I should be doing, and then for some reason, I didn't follow the 3rd step. I'm sure we've all had similar type situations, but keep those in mind when you're looking through the 3-step process, that what are some of the long-term effects that you could have. So, values. The True Sport principles, there's 7 of them. You would have seen them on some of the billboards and some of the material that we've given out to you. When they're all in balance, we believe that life is pretty good. So they're all, the circle is kind of your life, if you want to reference a movie, circle of trust. They're all in there. You want to strive for excellence, play fair, keep it fun, give back, stay healthy, include everyone, and respect others. When all of those are included, we think life's great. But what happens when strive for excellence or any of the other ones takes a dominant turn? If I look at that situation that I went through at McGill, keep it fun was there, respect others probably got pushed out of the bubble, Some of the behavior that was happening was completely unacceptable. And all I really cared about was maybe including myself in the group, not even everyone. So the True Sport principles are designed for you as an athlete, if you are going to speak out in public, to pass these on to youth or people in your community to try to keep them in consideration and in balance. As soon as they get distorted a little bit, we believe that something's going wrong. Your performance is going to suffer, someone's missing out. There's a variety of different reasons. And if you want to be a participant in the True Sport movement and a champion, as Karina is and many other athletes, you can go to school and go to schools and speak with a set of tools. The way the champion program works is we prepare you to go do those public speaking engagements that you're already doing. We know you're out there doing it, but we give you a targeted message. So when you go up there and you say, respect others is really important, well, why? You have those values that you agree with, but the training that the True Sport movement can give you will help you put that in perspective and help you, target your message a little bit better. So, as I mentioned, do our actions. They're not always what we want them to be. So, time to discuss. So in your groups, if we could have one note taker at the table, the questions are out there, so this will be discussion 1. So we want you to sit at the table and discuss these series of questions. Write down what the discussion is at the table, and then we'll move on to the second one when I'll cue you to do that. So the question is, what are the pressures you experience as an athlete? You deal with press. I say protein shakes, but it could be supplements of any kind. Making weight, cutting weight. Those are some of the challenges you deal with. What are they? We can think of plenty at the office, but we'd love for you to tell us if we're missing some, or what are we not taking into consideration during our education. How do you feel about the pressures? Do you feel like you have control over managing them? And do you feel empowered to make those decisions? Are you not sure how to deal with it? Are you just going with the flow because someone else told you to do so? Or you feel that you're comfortable with what you're going through? And what would be most helpful to you in managing these pressures? Least helpful? Are you missing resources? Can we provide you some? Do you have any specific questions? So if you can discuss that question for about the next 3 minutes in a group and have someone note them down, that'd be greatly appreciated. Go ahead. The standard one. We work in anti-doping at CCES, so we want to know about it. Are you aware of any doping activity in your sport? Some sports are, some sports aren't. Some sports is not even a concern for them. It's just not even fathomable that someone would take those types of risks. But if you are in one, we want to know about it. How do you feel about it? Is it a concern for you? If you could do something about it, would you? I mentioned earlier, I could have done something about that situation with the hazing, but I didn't. I regret that. If I could do it over again, I would. And same thing goes for doping. Are you in a position to do something about it? If there was a way for you to report or uncover doping activity, would you? What if you could do it anonymously? How does that make you feel? Are you concerned? Why would you do something, or why not? What are some of the challenges that you face in potentially reporting doping, or why you do or why you don't? We know when we've gone out, and I've met with some people in my role, doing investigations related to doping, people are aware of it, but they don't want to share that information. They don't want to be the rat, or, what are some of those concerns? What are some of the stigmas associated if you know about that, or if you were in a position to tell us about it? Same idea? Spend the next couple minutes on that one, and then we'll move on. All right. I think we're going to try to move on. I know it's probably something you're still talking about, but I'd like to hear your feedback so I can incorporate it in the rest of the discussion. Hello? Is this thing on? Really passionate discussion.
Hey,
I know. The
guys,
doping question is a special one.
Hey guys, quiet down just for a second. Quiet down. Guys, quiet down. I know it's the end of the day. We just got a little bit left. Just quiet down for a second.
Perfect. So I want to do a quick report back. The idea being I'm going to pick three tables that would like to report back, one item from either of the two questions that you think would be really valuable for the group to hear or that you want to point out right now. So if I have a couple volunteers, that would be great. You're talking about something and continuously, there's got to be a point you want to make. Here we go. Karina's going to bring... Yeah, whichever you prefer. You can do either or.
Do we want to talk as well? Ryan, Life Saving. So we had a couple ones. We talked about performance, money, too cliche to talk about, school. We came with supplements and nutrition, just dietary concerns specifically that are complicated. So trying to make sure it's all right and needing to bring enough food to the competition in case whatever venue doesn't fit your dietary concerns. And the one we focused the most on was, or the biggest stressor at our table was your relationship with your coach.
Okay.
And when you have that negative relationship, and often a few of us come from sports where you don't have much selection. You don't get to just, if you don't want that coach, you're changing provinces.
Right.
Pretty much. So what would the outside, we talked about, like, it's a very sticky situation to deal with. So are you empowered to do something about it? Well, not really. You control one way of a two-way street. If they're willing to work with you, then yeah, you can accomplish something. If they're not, then the lines of communication are broken. You can't help it. And what was the second half to that?
That's perfect. That's a great point. I'm going to take you from that one. I think it's really interesting. Just out of a show of hands, who here has ever been in a situation, or regularly or currently is, with a coach that they're not happy with or is dealing with some challenges? All right, no, it's really interesting. From my perspective, it wasn't something that we've thought about too much, so I think that's something that we would probably have to, or we would want to include in some of the education for you. How do you deal with those situations, right? Those are challenges that you're facing, and you may or may not be properly equipped to deal with that. Another table want a quick report back? Does anyone have something they'd like to bring up? All right, we'll move on to the next one then. So, we just did that. Discussion 3. Where do you go when you need help, guidance, and information? Who, what, where are your tried and true resources? What is it about these resources that have inspired you, your confidence, your trust? And then here, I'm going to show you 3 images. Does that mean anything to anyone? If it does, we'd love to see what's written on your page. What about that one? The wizard, that is. And this one at the end. If you know what they are, it'd be great to have them identified on the sheet, and I'll ask you guys after to identify them when we report back. So I'll switch back to the questions so you have them. And spend a couple minutes answering these questions, please. The images? Sure. I'll go back to the images. That's the first one. It's kind of part of the question. So if you look at the last part, what do those images mean to you? So those are exactly those images that are being referred to. What are they? What does it mean? All right, so I'm going to answer those questions for you, or tell you at least what those images are. So this first one right here is called the global dro. Does anyone know what it is and want to explain it, or should I explain it? Go ahead, Josh.
It's a database where you can check dates for any sort of supplement.
Exactly. So if you didn't hear what it is, it's a database that's available online to athletes from Canada, the US, UK, and Japan was recently added. So if you're ever traveling in any of those countries and you buy a product there, you can use the number associated with it to determine whether that substance is banned to you as an athlete in or out of competition. So it's a great tool. It doesn't apply to supplements. Supplements are an unregulated industry, which means they don't have a DIN number. But this tool is available to you when you're traveling in the UK or you're in Switzerland and you brought some cold medicine with you and you're like, I don't know if I can take this because I'm competing this weekend. You go in there, you describe what the medication is, what's the milligram dosage, is it liquid form, is it an ampule, how are you taking it, and it'll tell you if you can use it. Really simple, green and red. It says in or out of competition, green and red, whether you're allowed, prohibited or not prohibited. Great tool for you to have as an athlete. If you're not aware of it, make sure the other athletes know. Medical exemption wizard. As many of you know, some of you take different medications that are banned in sport, but due to a medical condition that you may have, you have to take it. So on the CCES website, we have medical exemption wizard, which is essentially a series of questions that leads you down a pathway to say, okay, you do need a medical exemption to take this substance, or you do need a TUE. So depending on where you are as an athlete, or as it changes, are you in the RTP? Are you receiving funding? What sport are you in? The rules apply differently. This will ask you those questions. Are you in the RTP? Yes or no? It'll take you down one path. Yep. The registered testing pool, sorry. If you have to submit whereabouts. So that's what the medical exemption wizard is. And this is NSF. Common question that we get, what supplements can I take? The straightforward answer is none. Why? Because we can't guarantee what's in them. This label that you'll see on some products reduces your risk. Doesn't guarantee that there won't be any tainted supplements, but it reduces it. This organization was founded about 100 years ago in the US, and what they do, they send, with the products that they test, they certify with their brand that there's no tainted supplements or there's no concerns for athletes in those products. Through their website, you can determine what supplements are on there, and any of the supplements that do get the certification, because it is expensive, will have it on their bottle, on the brand, or whatever the box may be. So that's what that image is for. NSF certified for sport. Discussion 4. So you've had a long athletic career. Some of you are already retired. Some of you in the right in the middle of it. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self about managing your athletic career? Did you have a challenging situation with a coach? How would you deal with it? What advice would you give that athlete? What steps are you taking now to better that particular aspect of your athletic career if you're still competing? If you're not, what are you helping others? How are you helping others? And then what would you do to improve that particular aspect of the sport experience of those coming up behind you in the future? I care about my body image. I would promote a healthy body image instead of being pressured to lose a lot of weight, as an easy example. Go back, spend a couple minutes on that one, please. Anyone? You have one? That's all right. It doesn't have to be on the last one. It could be of any of the ones that we've done. So if you have something you want to share with the group, I don't know where that microphone went. Either or. Whichever you want to answer. Karina, perfect. All right.
So David Gito, I had a comment about nutrition and basically educating the athletes on how to eat
Hold on,
properly.
guys. David's got something to share.
And it was funny because unlike some of the people sitting here, I actually had a better diet when I was younger, when I was a teenager living at home, and then moved on my own, and it's keeping up with that diet when you're training or studying, it's tough.
So you think as an athlete, it'd be beneficial to you to receive, try to understand how to balance your diet, like have those types of resources available to you would be a huge help.
Definitely. Diet, nutrition, everything.
I can speak to that as well. I would have to agree with you 100%. For sure. Point right here. Or Karina, you got one? No? We'll work our way down.
Some of our table was saying that to enter the development stream of the sport earlier, maybe a junior or a U23 team, and be more vocal to the coach and NSO about what they felt.
About what, sorry?
Be more vocal to their coaches or to their NSO about what they felt they should do as an athlete rather than as a young athlete getting pushed around or sort of steered in a
Setting your
direction.
own expectations.
Sort of, yeah.
So using the feedback that you get from your coaching staff and your NSO to set your personal goals, right?
Well, and to advocate, to self-advocate for yourself, which is a little redundant.
Sure.
To self-advocate on what you believe.
Great, thank you. Another table, like to comment? I think we had one up here. No, not.
Nutrition as well.
All right, that's fine. So it's not a problem. We'll continue from there. So 4 sets of questions, 4 heavy questions, lots of different variations. I really hope you've written that information down because it is valuable to us. I think the point about how many of you are dealing with coaches' struggles, a bit of a surprise to me, I have to say. So I think that's something that we would definitely like to try to equip you better to deal with. Some of the resources, so I showed those 3 images. There are 3 resources available to you, but I wanted to put up some websites for you again. So anti-doping rules specifically are very complex. They're really long. The link to the Canadian Anti-Doping Program is right up there on the top. If you're not sure if you're in the registered testing pool, which I hope you know whether you are or not, is there as well. Link to WADA, which sets the international standards. The Global DRO, which you saw the icon for, and a substance classification booklet. The other thing that I'm here to stress to you today with my business card for all of you is if you or any of your teammates have any questions specifically, CCES isn't just police. We're here to help you too, right? There's only the policing aspect once something wrong has been committed. Up until that point, we're a resource to you just like anyone else. So if you're not sure how to deal with a situation, or you're facing a substance problem or a question you're not quite sure, you know me now. I just spent 45 minutes standing in front of you. You should feel comfortable enough to approach me, and I'll answer that question for you. If it's not me, I'll make sure that one of my colleagues can do that for you. So that's part of why that business card's in there for you. We don't want you to be afraid to contact us. Sometimes there's a stigma associated with our organization and dealing directly with athletes. So please don't be shy. Go right ahead and contact me. Medical Exemption Wizard is up there as well. NSF for Sport, so their website, if you want to go see which products are listed. I know when I was an athlete, almost everything made by EAS had gone through that process, so if you do take some supplements, that was an option. I'd go back and double check. I'm not sure if it's still on there anymore. True Sport website, the link is on there. If you're interested about those 7 principles, Karina would be happy to speak to you after. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. If you have questions, you can email me and I'll put you in touch with them as well. And you can find it all in the CCS Athlete Zone. So ccs.ca/athlete zone, or you can just go to the CCS webpage and find your way there. So in conclusion, I kind of wanted to open the floor again in case you had any general questions about anti-doping, anything we covered today in general. We really looked at this as a discussion. We hope you found it beneficial. Please make sure you answer that questionnaire at the end. It would really help us from an educational perspective. In the last couple of years, there's been some doping cases or just some confusion with information that's been sent out or that athletes don't have access to. And we want to make sure that the information is getting to you. So when you have these seminars or national team meetings, would it be beneficial for you to have someone from the head office like myself to come in and speak to you specifically about some of the issues in your sport or some of the challenges that you're facing? Was the format today enjoyable? Did you like that better than someone just lecturing to you, letting you give us the feedback? You know, that's what that form's there for, so please fill that out. That'd be really appreciated. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Eric, quick question. Do you know where things are with regards to the question on clawing back carding?
Clawing back carding?
Yeah.
The best answer for that question would have been for Bob earlier. To speak to it specifically, I know there was a submission made on behalf of AthletesCAN,
Correct.
on behalf of CCS to bring it forward, whether it would or wouldn't happen.
Right.
To say where it is at this very moment, I can't speak to it exactly. I know that originally it was moving forward that there may be clawback after a doping violation.
Okay. Thanks. Does anybody have any questions about CCS anti-doping?
I'm Drew from cross country skiing. I'm just wondering, does the CCS, do they lobby like WADA, international doping, for ongoing concerns with doping control and that sort of thing?
100%, we definitely do. We're very lucky in Canada that WADA is actually housed in Montreal, so we get to make that road trip from Ottawa 2 hours to WADA quite easily if it's something that we want to bring up. We are in contact with them. Any doping cases that come through that we finalize on actually end up going to WADA as well for their approval, whether they agree with the decision or not. One of the things that I've noticed a lot in my time discussing with athletes is when they travel internationally, the standards that they go through, doping control, are very different from one country to another. In Canada, sometimes it seems really rigid and strict and straight to the point. Some other countries, it's a little more, for lack of a better word, lackadaisical. That may not be the case, but for us, we might not know that working here in Canada, but we want to protect your rights, your responsibilities. So if you want to send us an email letting us know what's happening in those other countries, that's a great point. That's something that we would bring forward to WADA or even directly to our counterparts.
Yeah, well, and I guess that was a kind of a follow-up question, was how you'd like to collect feedback?
Email is really easy because we have a written record of it. Phone call's good too. Those are some of the easy ones. One of the things that we're doing right now through CCS has social media, so we're on Twitter and Facebook. So if you're following on those, it'd be great to go that way. So this weekend was an example. A couple days before, we sent out a message saying that I'd be in Toronto for the next couple days. If any athletes want to meet informally to discuss anything, nothing in particular. Do you have questions? Do you want to talk about a doping violation? Something happened to you you're not happy about? Great opportunity. So tell your colleagues, your teammates, we're available to you. As I said, we're a resource as well as a regulatory body on the side.
And also on that, when you are being tested by people like me, if you come across that you are verbalizing this to us, we will encourage you to write a supplementary report. You don't have to, but again, it's the same kind of thing. When it's put into writing, it has more value. We will share what we're told back with the people who sent us from Ottawa, but it has more impact when it comes from you.
There's a comment section at the bottom of every doping control form. It's about 3 lines big. You might not be able to articulate your point there. You can get a supplementary reform. You can write an email. You can contact us. Phone line's always open, or email. Yep.
Hi, Eric. This is just a question from sports solution perspective. A lot of times athletes come to us when they have a doping issue and say, hey, I was tested for A, B, and C, but I feel like I'm being targeted. I keep getting tested over and over. Certain people on my team keep getting tested over and over. Can you just speak to a little bit about the targeting policies that CCES has?
Sure. So CCS operates on what we call an intelligent-based testing model. So what that means is throughout the year we have what we call a test distribution plan. So as your sport, it's ranked, evaluated, all the things that are considered. What level of athlete are you? Where are you in your career? What time of the season is it? Are you in training? Those types of things are all evaluated to determine when you should be tested, how often you should be tested. Have we received information? Is there reason to believe there's a problem? There's no set criteria that says, okay, it's January 15th at 9 p.m. we're going to go test you. There's a series of discussions and an evaluation of information that goes through a process to determine when, how often, and why an athlete would be tested. I don't know if that's what you're looking for as an answer.
Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you
Thanks for your time, guys.